Obviously, it wasn't our best, not our best at all. I don't think our best has shown up all series long, but it's coming. Shift the focus to finding a way to get a win in Game 4.
Well, Connor McDavid there, captain of the Edmonton Oilers speaking. It's got to show up. They got to get a split. Well, they don't have to. I don't think even if the Oilers go down 3-1, I don't think they're out of the series. They could string 3 wins together. They've done it many, many times. But that was not a good game for the Edmonton Oilers last night. We're going to dig into that in just a moment. Jets at Noon is brought to you by Wash Method Car Wash. 690 St. Anne's Road. VIP take on the text line to win a VIP car wash from our good friends at Wash Method. 204-780-6868. We'll announce the winner later in the program as we come at you live from the Boston Pizza Studio. Try the new triple pep pizza only at Boston Pizza. Still to come on the show, there's a fairly major retirement in the NHL that was announced officially today with some borderline local connections just over the border. We'll get into that. I don't know if we can call it local connections, but and then the Calder Trophy has been awarded to the NHL's Rookie of the Year. We'll discuss that. And when we come back after 12:30.
Has the Hart Trophy been announced yet, or just rumored still?
Listen, we don't know the legitimacy of that photo yet, Jim. The leak
I
showed
can't tell you.
Connor Hellebuck with the Vezina and the Hart. That's what the photo that leaked seems to be purporting.
I can't tell that. You could show me a picture of my family with another man in it, and I wouldn't know if that's fake or not. Like, I can't tell.
So I don't know. We don't know if that's a real photo or not. Time will tell. And the photo, even if he does win the Hart, it could still be incorrect. Like, the photo could just be fake.
Well, that's what I mean. I can't.
Yeah, so we don't know. We're going to have to wait and see. But we will get into as well after 12:30. We're going to talk. I'm going to ask you this question, Jim. We're going to steelman 2 arguments. Because we take all sides of the argument here. I don't think, and on this topic specifically, I don't think there's an incorrect opinion. So you're either in the camp that the Jets should trade their first overall pick to get this team and improve this team next season, or you're in the camp that the Jets have to hold on to their 28th overall pick this upcoming draft because it's the only way that the Jets can get first-round talent for the most part is by holding on to these picks, whether it's something that they package up, a player that eventually gets shipped off in a trade, or is a guy that, becomes a Winnipeg Jet for life, quote unquote, as well. So we'll steelman both of those arguments because I think they're both valid arguments. It just depends on where you think the Jets should head. So we're going to talk that when we come back after 12:30. But the Edmonton Oilers, Jim, they lost that one early, and they got routed 6-1. What did you think about the game last night, having the Oilers down 2-1?
Well, they can't take that many penalties. That's a clear and obvious obvious thing for the Edmonton Oilers, and they've got to keep their composure. And I thought, the Oilers crowd can get that team going and get them flying on the rush and get them, going to the point where they may score some goals. The Florida crowd can get that team going to where we'll get in your face. We're going to be, and get you. I thought the Oilers had a good start to the game. I thought they had some jump and everything in their legs, and then they just took too many penalties and were undisciplined. I don't know how to quantify this, but the Edmonton Oilers have never been more of a team than this year. But they're not a team. And I say that I'm watching Evander Kane run around yesterday, and does anybody like him on that team? I don't know. Jeff Skinner's there, in and out, floating around the lineup this year, and everybody thought he would be the answer finally on the top 6, and he's not. He's a healthy scratch. There's just this, they defend Darnell Nurse to the nth degree. They defend Evan Bouchard, but yet he can't play defense, and he can put up points. I don't know because I'm not there. I don't cover the team. I don't know the culture in the room and stuff. But when I watch games like last night, and then look, they did a phenomenal job, I thought, at the trade deadline of bringing in pieces that could help them get over the top. But those guys haven't been there long, right? And it just looked to me like a thing that, the first 2 games, they're all pulling the rope in the same direction. And last night, it looked like guys were trying to go in all different directions with that rope, and they ended up losing the tug of war.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. And so I don't know. It's only one game. When Connor McDavid speaks to me, it's like John Wick. When he says we haven't played our best game, but it's coming, you better be afraid of the boogeyman. Because if they do, I don't know that Florida can keep up with them, although Florida has in the first 2 games quite well. But I don't know, like Edmonton is a team that could literally blow your doors off. But they all have to be on the same page, and last night they weren't.
It was a perfect example of a team playing into the other team's hands.
Yes.
It was exactly the kind of game that Florida wanted to play. They wanted to get under Edmonton's skin. They wanted to force them to take stupid penalties.
Yeah.
They wanted them to try and match them in sort of that tenacity. And Edmonton can't play that game. That's not who they are.
Well, and the penalties that Sam Bennett was drawing was what Sam Bennett was doing in Edmonton for 2 games. He was giving you the extra shot. He was, Bouchard two-handed him, or he gave Bouchard a hit, and Bouchard got up and tapped him, and Bennett two-handed him. And that's usually the one that gets the penalty. But he doesn't openly swing two-handed. He just gives it back, and the ref let it go. It wouldn't surprise me if that was called. But my point is that Bennett did not react one bit, which was ironic because the first 2 games he was the guy doing it, and it just was like Edmonton looked immature in last night's game.
Edmonton to me looked like they wanted to be Florida. That's what it looked like to me.
Yeah, and they're not.
They're not Florida. But they wanted to be the Panthers last night.
I thought Bieksa summed it up perfectly after where he said, Kelly, I am worried, to Kelly Rudy. He said, I wouldn't be worried. I get Kelly's point.
Yeah.
Edmonton could come out on Thursday and blow their doors off and get 4 quick goals.
They could win 6-1.
They have that chance. Yeah. But to Bieksa's point, I am worried, Kelly, because they keep trying to figure out how to play Florida's game, and they can't figure it out.
No. They don't, but I think that's
that's
folly.
What makes Florida unique, right?
Yeah.
We hear this for a week now on our station, people calling in, they have to be bigger, they have to be tougher, they have to be grittier, they have to play like Florida. But if that's not you, the worst thing you could do is try to play that way.
Well, I agree with you.
It's the same as if
Jim.
Florida looks at Edmonton and goes, we have to play this way. And they don't have McDavid and they don't have Draisaitl. And so they don't have an Evan Bouchard. And so then they're like, well, they're not going to be successful trying to be somebody they're not.
Edmonton is not out of this series. They could still win this series 100%. But you know what it looked like to me, Jim? They looked immature. And after all the series wins that they've had, after they took care of Dallas in 5, they easily got past the Golden Knights. LA, they battled back from down 2-0. Going through everything they've gone through the last 2 seasons in particular, from not this past season, but the one before, where they had that horrendous start to the year. They battled back, end up in the Stanley Cup Final, get down 0-3 and battle back to force a Game 7. To me yesterday, the Edmonton Oilers looked like an immature team.
Well, that's what I mean. They looked immature. They looked like they weren't all on the same page.
That's right.
There wasn't anybody telling Kane, stop taking penalties.
There was no one in control.
There wasn't anybody going to Frederic, who's new to the team.
Yeah.
And when he got there, he missed a lot of on-ice time because of injury to go stop it.
Yeah.
Remember when Marchand was licking faces and Chara went over without even an instant and got in his face on the bench? Well, he was still on the ice and Marchand was on the bench, got right in his face and said, stop it. Remember when Seabrook went over to Jonathan Taves and kicked open the penalty box door and said, it's okay, calm down. These are leaders. These are guys that have won championships that in the moment need some help from a teammate. Mm-hmm. And I just thought the Oilers needed some of that. They needed a McDavid or a Draisaitl to go over and go, stop it, Kane. Or we're still in this, calm down.
Yeah.
Let's not lose our minds here. And it didn't happen. Now, to your point, it's only one game. We saw this in Jets series. That could have been a 2-1 loss. It doesn't change anything,
correct,
right?
Yeah.
So they got to regroup, and that's why Thursday with 2 days off is going to be fascinating.
Yeah, no, it's just Edmonton's got to be Edmonton. That's it.
But when McDavid talks like
they
that,
have to be Edmonton.
I don't know what's going to happen Thursday. That's why I'm going to be intrigued to watch. But I promise you this. When McDavid talks like that last night, he will have himself a game on Thursday.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm looking forward to what he can do.
It's what everybody else does.
Well,
right?
that's the problem, is because they were so disjointed and fractured yesterday, Edmonton, that it was just it was defensive breakdowns and stuff snowballs, right? They get down early in the first 56 seconds. Brad Marchand, of all people, if him or Sam Bennett score, it's going to tick the entire Oilers bench off right now. They got a bunch of guys that can get under their skin. But they got under the Oilers' skin, and listen, they forced them into things that they didn't need to get involved in.
There was a lot of people telling us yesterday, you don't need great goaltending to win. Yeah, you do.
Do you think Skinner deserved to get pulled?
I just know that if everybody who wants to trade Connor Hellebuyck, if Connor Hellebuyck is in that situation with that many penalty kills in the first half of a period, you got a chance to kill those off. And you're not down a minute in. You might I'm not saying you wouldn't be down a minute in, but you're not down that much. Or when you go up 2-1, I would roll my dice with, I mean, you had to go to Picard again for the second time in this playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
I like Stuart Skinner. He can clearly play at this level, and he can clearly play in the playoffs. But it's the lack of consistency. And you need consistency back there. And now let me ask you this. What do you think the Oilers are thinking about it? Because we saw how Dallas reacted when their guy got pulled in Jake Ottinger and what the coach said. It's too late right now to get into too much. But if I'm an Oiler player, how do you feel about...
Well, the circumstances are so different, I think, Jim. Like with Skinner getting pulled versus Ottinger getting taken out.
Because there wasn't one time, even when Connor Hellebuyck himself said, this is unusual to me, and I got to figure it out, and I got to be better. There wasn't one player in that Jets room, I don't think, that didn't have confidence that he couldn't do it. I wonder, after being pulled for the second time in the playoffs. Now, he's also the guy that took him to Game 7 last year. Mm-hmm. But you're not going to convince me that some Oilers aren't going to go, I know he can do it, but will he?
Let's take a break. Let's come back. On the other side, hey, a guy who played his high school hockey in War Road, Minnesota, just over the border.
Beautiful little town.
Spent some time in UND.
Big Windows factory there.
Is there?
Yes.
Oh.
I've been through it a couple of times.
That's right.
Nice little town. And a fabulous milkshake place.
Oh, you're a milkshake guy. Who? But you know what? Here's the thing. Who isn't a milkshake guy?
Look at me. Do I not look like a milkshake guy?
You know, if somebody
look at me right now.
What if somebody looked at you and said, "No, I don't like milkshakes"? You're just probably Tyson Rewicki, who doesn't like milk, doesn't like. I don't know if he likes ice cream.
Get him in here right now.
I'm pulling him in here.
Let's talk to him.
Okay, we'll be right back. For the record, Tyson Rewicki, producer of the show, nephew of the program, does not like milkshakes. He doesn't like milk. He likes ice cream, but he doesn't like milkshakes. So try and figure that one out. Try and work your mind around that fact. He likes ice cream, doesn't like milkshakes.
What kind of a monster is on a road trip with his parents? They say, you kids want ice cream. You want a milkshake. Because milkshakes aren't messy. So when you're in the car and you're going, you say, we'll get the kids a milkshake. I do it when I head home at Swift Current. Swift Current has a great DQ. You get a milkshake. You keep going. Boom. By the time the shake's done, you're in Medicine Hat.
Yes.
What kind of a person sits in the back seat with his brothers, all having milkshakes, and he's eating a sundae, getting it all over everything and going, I like this, but I can't stand that.
It doesn't make sense. Okay, taste-wise, what is the taste difference between ice cream and a milkshake? Honestly, it's very minimal.
There's a guy who makes a difference in the world here in Winnipeg and Manitoba. His name's DQ Nick. And I think I could get 100 milkshakes for Tyson this year alone. If he would just open his freaking mind and stop being such a monster.
He's an animal.
But he'll say no.
He's a beast.
Like he's better than us? He's not on the air.
He is, you know what? He is the beast.
I mean, a sundae in a car is a mess.
The sign of the beast, not liking milkshakes.
Plus, you can get a root beer milkshake. You can get a pineapple one.
You can get whatever you want.
Get a chocolate.
It's very
vanilla.
customizable.
You get a strawberry milkshake, which is kind of refreshing.
Should the Jets,
it's like an ice cream
shouldn't
margarita,
they trade their 28th overall pick? We'll discuss that after this. Welcome back, 204-780-6868. Shoot us a text, win yourself a VIP car wash from our good friends at Wash Method. Jets at noon brought to you by Wash Method Car Wash, 690 St. Anne's Road. We'll announce the winner later in the program as we come at you live from the Boston Pizza Studio. Try the new Triple Pep Pizza only at
Triple Pep
Boston Pizza.
Triple
Good
Pep
stuff.
Pizza.
It's good stuff.
I happened to be outside the studio a moment ago and mentioned,
oh my God, don't say it,
young Tyson Rewicki's disdain for milkshakes, but fondness for ice cream. And manager of Talk, Lauren McNabb, said, I too enjoy ice cream, but not the milkshake. I'm always thirsty after a milkshake, and yet I drank something.
I don't think a milkshake is meant to quench your thirst. Is
I'm
it?
107 years old. I've never heard talk like this. I've never heard talk such as this.
It's shocking, to be honest.
Maurice, Tyson, you make me sick when you talk. Slap shot.
Call the Boston Pizza Jets and Noon hotline open 24/7, 204-780-6800. Dig into the new Triple Pep Pizza and Double Trouble Nachos, available now only at Boston Pizza. Do you understand the difference of these two arguments, Jim Toth?
I do. I'm looking forward to this because I think it's a great I think it's a great topic. I think it's a great way to look at it. And the way what you're going to do is break it down with the pros on both sides, and then we make a decision, right? So I think it's awesome.
So why the Jets should and why the Jets shouldn't trade their 28th overall pick, right? And I've done the legwork here. I do not think that one answer is right and one answer isn't. You know, maybe I would have a preference in what I think they should do. But I wouldn't suffice to say that one of these opinions is wrong. Okay. So
then everyone's a winner.
Well, then everyone's a winner. That's right. So by steel manning both of these arguments, so a steel man is the opposite of a straw man argument. I'm not going to get into it. I'm not going to bore you with the difference between it, but it's just a steel man is trying to build your opponent's argument in its strongest, most reasonable form. Fair enough, right? A straw man is sort of oversimplifying somebody's argument. So if somebody says to you, I think fighting in hockey should be more strictly penalized to improve player safety, you go, so you want all hockey players to turn into figure skaters? That's a straw man. Okay, so we're steel manning things here. We're going to say fighting in hockey, while controversial, serves a functional role beyond just entertainment. That's how we steel man things here, Jim Toth.
What is steelman, by the way? This is some social media term, right?
Yeah, it's just to build your opponent's argument in its strongest, most reasonable form.
Oh, okay, yeah.
To make it even better than the person might have made themselves. So you understand their side more.
Sure.
While straw man is just like insulting them. Like,
yeah, I get straw man a lot.
Yeah. So why the Jets should trade their 2025 first round pick? They're in win now mode. With veterans locked in and a team that just won the President's Trophy, the core not getting any younger. The key for the Winnipeg Jets is to keep the competitive window open and give themselves the best chance. Trading the pick could land them that impact player that could support a deeper playoff push now, not 3 years from now or whatever, or be used in, say, an offer sheet for a player like Marco Rossi at $7 million. So if it's under $7 million or just under seven, I think it's like the number is just over $7 million.
7.1, it's over.
Yeah, and then you just have to use your first and third round pick. You don't need to involve the second one. Right. So the Jets could do something like that and sign an offer sheet for somebody like Marco Rossi for $7 million. A shaky trade value. Another reason why the Jets should trade. There's always an educated guess. You may, look back 7 or 8 years from now and say it was a mistake, but you're essentially you're casting your line and you're hoping you're pulling up a big fish. Right? There's no guarantees with the draft. While, there's no guarantees by trading it and getting an impact player. I think the likelihood of getting a good, solid NHLer is higher than, taking the first round pick, right? It's not 100%. Asset maximization. The pick might be more valuable to other teams than to Winnipeg, especially rebuilding squads, using it to package up a second-line center with upside, right-handed, and could fit some immediate gaps in the lineup, and the Jets could take advantage of it. Or, and the final one why the Jets should trade their 2025 first-round pick, prospect pool momentum. Braden Yager, Brad Lambert, Nikita Chibrikov, Elias Solomonson, Parker Ford. Those guys are already in the pipeline and are in short order, could be impact players here on the Winnipeg Jets. So because you have these talented younger players that are ready to take that next step, perhaps into a National Hockey League role in the next year or two, the first round pick, 28th overall, is not as important and should be used as an asset to gain and help the team win now. So that was why the Jets should be trading their 2025 first round pick. Why they shouldn't be trading their 2025 first round pick. Number one, it's Winnipeg. Let's get real. The smallest market in NHL professional sports isn't for everyone. Players love it here. They re-sign here. They thrive here. But most other NHLers prefer landing in a different spot. For the Jets to be able to bring in blue chip prospects and top six and top pairing players, for the most part, they have to do it through the draft. The Jets' first-round picks are more valuable to them than any other team. Number 2, the Jets cannot rebuild. So Winnipeg, based on the economics of the city of Winnipeg and the province of Manitoba, this team is, we've talked about this before, Jim, they can never fully rebuild. If it's something degenerated into a situation like what's been going on in Buffalo, Detroit, Anaheim, San Jose, Columbus, Chicago, where the team didn't make the playoffs for 5+ years, it would be disastrous, financially disastrous, and it could affect the viability of this team operating here in Winnipeg, I believe. So when you look at sustainability and maintaining success, you got to keep the cupboards full. And the Jets can't if the Jets trade away their first round picks and put themselves in a situation where they have to rebuild, that could put them in a big hole later on. So by trading high end draft capital today, it could cause serious damage and need a rebuild in the future. Number 3, cost controls. Talent is key. Young, cheap players with a rising cap are not as valuable as before, but impact players on ELCs are still very, very beneficial for this franchise. The first round pick gives you a potential NHLer under control for up to 7 years as well at below market rates. Very precious to this organization. And from the opposite side of the Jets have strong drafting success. Morrissey, Connor, Ehlers, Scheifele, Sandberg, Hellebuck, Lowry, they're all homegrown players. So it's better to trust in the Jets scouting department and the long-term process than swing for a short-term fix for this organization. So Jim, with all that being said, and looking at both sides of the argument about the Jets should trade their 2025 first-round pick or the Jets shouldn't trade their 2025 first-round pick, what do you think? Where do you stand on this?
Well, this is going to sound terrible, but it depends on who they're trading it for.
Well, that's true. Look, there's lots of nuance here, Jim.
Yeah, I don't think you'd be trading it if it wasn't improving the team. So I think they should trade it. I think it's going to be 28th or 20. Yeah, it is 28th overall. And I think you go from there. Now, the problem this year, as you pointed out, is there's no second round pick, right?
Yeah.
So now you're not picking till the third round. But if you had a package put together that would, like, for instance, a second line center, I would do it. If you could put a package together, and we've talked about this, if you believe in Marco Rossi as your second line center of the future and the now, then I would package that up and go get him. And I would sign him to the 7 years. I think you want $7 million, which is what the ask is really turning some teams away in Minnesota or from Minnesota, that they like him and would like to acquire him, but not at $7 million per year. And I get that, right? Like $5 million is where he should be at until he proves a little bit more. He's had 160-point season, but the point to this isn't who you're bringing in. The point is, if you bring in somebody that you believe would be a second-line center for the future, then I would trade it every day of the week. But if you're trading it to get a third-round pick and another depth defenseman or depth center, then...
Now, I don't.
Or maybe you're trading it for a second-round pick. Like maybe there's a package there where you send the first one out, you get a second back, and you get a... But look, this team does not need any more bottom six players. And this team does not need any bottom pair defensemen. What this team needs is, and I'll even include everybody, the top 4 D-men and the top 6. If you can improve that somehow, then you do it. And I'm literally saying that about, like, if you can get a better Dylan DeMello, then you go get him with the first-round pick and move DeMello down and you're a better team. If you can go get a better Neil Pionk, if you can go get a second-line center, then I package that first-round pick up any day of the week, because that first-round pick, as you've eloquently pointed out, is always and will be the one certainty the Jets will have in attaining players. They're not going to help you next year. And they're not going to probably help you the year after. So you send it out the door. And I'm fully willing to, if the Jets do that and they don't win the Stanley Cup, and 5 years from now somebody goes, well, that's the pick they could have had, and it's Celebrini's turned into be Nikita Kucherov.
It's always that.
I will do because hindsight is different. Do you want to win the Stanley Cup next year after making the second round this year, or do you want to keep drafting well?
I can't stand draft hindsight talk. That's like one of my pet peeves.
I don't mind the hindsight talk if you put in the context of when the pick was made. To go back 3 years ago,
Which
and
is
go,
usually-
they took Logan Stanley over Alex DeBrincat.
Which is usually what happens.
They had Patrick Laine, and they needed a D-man. That was the context in which they passed on Alex DeBrincat. Now you can say the D-man hasn't worked out to be a top 4. That's all true.
Yeah.
But at the time those picks were made, that was the philosophy. And 32 other teams passed on DeBrincat because they wanted somebody else. That's the hindsight I don't like. But if you include the context of the draft, then I don't mind looking back.
While I don't think the Jets can do this next year or the year afterwards,
So you wouldn't trade it this year?
I don't think they should do it next year or the year after, but I think they should move it this year. I think this team just won the President's Trophy. They took a step in the playoffs in the right direction, right? They came up short against Dallas, but they came up short. And this team needs help now. If you can make a move to improve this team and fix the second line, the value of this pick to me for the Jets is as a movable asset to acquire something for this team next year beyond taking X player in that position.
So don't do an offer sheet because you don't have your second round pick and you have to have
Well, you could do it for somebody like Marco Rossi, right? So
but if it's under 7.1 a year, you have to use your second round pick and you don't have it, and it has to be yours. You can't acquire somebody else's and use that.
If it's between 7.02 to $9.36 million, you have to have your first, second, and third round pick. If it's between $4.6 million and $7.02 million in the offer sheet that you're offering, you have to only have your first and third. So the Jets would
first and third.
Yes. So the Jets would be in a position right now to go after somebody like Rossi, and they would not need to get their second round pick back.
But here's the thing. So now you don't have a pick for the first 3 rounds this year.
That's the problem.
I wouldn't do it. I would say I'll give you my first round pick. I'll send you David Gustafson back. I'll send you Logan Stanley or Ville Heinola back, and I'll send you a third round pick. I mean, I'm overpaying for Marco Rossi now.
Yeah.
But I would, you know what I'm saying?
Yes,
I would
yes,
package up a depth centerman that they have plenty of. I would package up a depth defenseman that they have plenty of, or Heinola. And because I know he's a depth guy right now, but I think that, and then I would go get him and then sign him as opposed to giving up that many picks. But I would send a first round pick out the door for him, or talk to Anaheim.
Yeah.
Now, I don't think Anaheim's going to let Marchman go. Not Marchman. I keep saying that. McTavish go.
I think the Jets.
But there's an issue in Minnesota where, now again, I don't know if Rossi's going to be perennial 60-point guy at center. I think he is, but the Jets have done a phenomenal job of evaluating that, right? Mm-hmm. So they would know whether they would or not. And if they believe that he could be a bona fide 60 to 70-point second line center for the next 5 to 6 years, maybe give him another year to maybe score 50, whatever. I don't know. But if he improves your team next year and for longevity, then I would package up that first round pick and I would go get him and I would sign him to 6 or 7 years and I would make him my second line center and I would go Scheifele, Rossi, Lowry down the middle for the next 3 to 4 years until Rossi's better than Scheifele.
You know what? And I believe this too. And as we go to break, I believe Kevin Cheveldayoff in a sense, and listen, not that he's not going to try and do something, and if it doesn't end up and they end up making the pick, I'm not sitting here and going to accuse Kevin Cheveldayoff of not trying to make that move, and it just so happened that the best course of action, given what was on the table, was to make the pick. I trust Kevin Cheveldayoff to make the right decision there. But I think that the guys who won the President's Trophy, again, who made that step in the playoffs, a first-round pick doesn't matter to them. It's owed to those guys to go out there and help this team get to the next level next year. And I think that involves moving the first round pick.
You're so right. The guys in that room aren't going to go after June's draft.
Who cares?
They're not going to sit there and go, that's a great pick. What they will do is go, hey, that guy that you just got is actually going to help us next year. Look at
how the players elevated themselves this year. You owe it to them to fix the second line and get that center.
You owe it to yourself. You've built this over 14 years, and you've kicked it around for 3 or 4 years in the postseason. You owe it to yourself that this is what you've built for. Mm-hmm. This is the time. Go add to the roster.
Congratulations to this texter. Didn't get a name, didn't get a response back, but the winning text message for our good friends at Wash Method, 690 St. Anne's Road, goes to this one. Afternoon, boys. Our Jets have plenty of regular season talent. We have almost always been missing is playoff talent, like Corey Perry and his style of player, who are pains in the butt.
Now, I would think he wants to stay in Edmonton.
Yeah.
But would you go, hey, Perry, instead of your $1 a year, do you want 2.5 for a year?
Yeah, I would.
You would?
I would, yeah. Miss your chance to get look, he's got 10 goals. Missed your chance to get your thoughts on the show today. Call the Boston Pizza Jets at Noon hotline, open 24/7, 204-780-6800. Dig into the new Triple Pep Pizza and Double Trouble Nachos, available only at Boston Pizza. Two little pieces of news here, Jim. Habs defenseman Lane Hutson has won the 2024-2025 Calder Trophy as NHL's Rookie of the Year. 6 goals, 60 assists in his inaugural NHL season. Trailing only Larry Murphy, who Brian Leach and Gary Sutter. So good for him. Lane Hutson is very well.
I don't mind
deserving of it. Yeah. When a rookie defenseman comes in and puts up 66 points, that's impressive.
Yeah. Especially in Montreal.
Yeah. Well, that's like an automatic boost of like 25% in voting just because he plays for the Habs. We all know it's true.
Plus, there's a bit of pressure there.
Come on.
Be good now.
Yeah. Or we boo. That's how they talk. We Habs fans, we boo.
I just meant be good now. Like, you better perform. Or
TJ Oshie has also officially announced his retirement.
What a career.
Played high school in Warroad, Minnesota. Played at UND in Grand Forks
with
for 3
Taves.
years. Won a cup in 2018 with Washington. Remember TJ Sochi? There was that
Oshie.
TJ Sochi during the Olympics.
Yes, Sochi.
He was 4 out of 6 in the. That was his like big claim to fame, was 4 out of 6 in that game against Russia.
TJ Sochi, that's such a good handle.
That was it. It was like his big. That was his big moment, man. Was that shootout against Russia in the preliminary rounds of the Olympics? Anyways, Jim.
I hear he's going to run for office in Sochi.
He should, Jim. He should.
Turn this up. This was a crazy night.
Jim Toth will take you all the way until 2 o'clock. Thank you very much to Jeffrey Ford, Jeff Bruce, the show. See ya.
Do you like milkshakes? Tyson doesn't like milkshakes. Unbelievable.